People are a lot more open to change than they think they are. And the ones that are a little bit more difficult are the ones that are going to allow you to grow the most. Chad Peterman here, and you are listening to Can't Stop the Growth, a platform for leaders and teams to grow and thrive. We highlight the importance of personal development, pursuing greatness, and always chasing your potential. Let's get into it. I think one of the kind of our battle cry, if you will, this year is really get better with what we have. We've talked a lot about this, about increasing kind of our training resources, really focused on the people that we have, whether that's on the technical side, the process side, as we talk about in these sessions, the leadership side. And so one of the things that we've really been harping on, or I think is really easy to go to, is, when we talk about getting better with what we have, it's really measuring, right? It's looking at KPIs and, conversion rates and average tickets and all of these things that are critical to the business, no doubt. But I think that the next question that has to be answered is, well, how do we actually influence these metrics? How do we actually do that? And I think that it really comes down to looking at how do we multiply our influence? And, I think influence is kind of a fluffy word, right? It's like influence. Like, what is that? How do I get that? What's that even look like? I don't have any influence. What are we talking about, And so what I want to talk about today is kind of 4 key principles that I think surround influence and I think really will help us get better with what we have. It's one thing to look at the numbers. It's another thing to influence the numbers and to help people grow themselves. How can they be better this year than they were last? So on and so forth. The biggest thing you can do is just go love the hell out of your people. How do you do that more? And love can come in a bunch of different varieties, right? Think about parenting. Parenting and your influence that you have in your family comes in a bunch of different varieties, right? That may mean getting a new dog. That may mean, disciplining someone that, has gotten out of line or did something they weren't supposed to or whatever it may be. And at the end of the day, though, when we think about parenting, the overarching principle is to love the hell out of our kids. It's to show them that we care, we believe in them, they are special, and they can do anything they want to do, and we're there to support them. And so I oftentimes think about, probably my most challenging leadership task is raising kids, right? There's no playbook for this. There's no anything. How do you do this, And I'm learning every day. And so when I think about leadership in the business world, a lot of it's the same. It's the exact same. And that's not to be demeaning about a relationship between a manager and a field professional or anything like that. But, a lot of it is just growing together as a family, As your kids get older, well, that relationship changes. It's a little bit different than when they're 5 or when they're 15 or 25, that relationship grows. And so I think that the critical thing for me, when I think about how am I going to grow my influence as a leader, like what does that look like? The one piece that I think, again, we all can control is the level of urgency with which we act, right? It is how do we move the needle and move it quickly? Now, a lot can be said for, and I've talked about it, speed is a great advantage in anything that you do, right? The faster that you can do it, the faster you're probably going to get results. Now, speed can sometimes break things too, right? We go too fast, we can miss steps, we can do the wrong thing, whatever it may be. But if we don't act with speed, if we don't have that urgency, what I have found is you're very slow to make corrections as well. And so when we think about urgency, one of the phrases that I always think about when I think about urgency is, there's that famous phrase out there, smarter, not harder, right? It's like, well, I'm getting smarter, so I can kind of move somewhat slow, right? Well, what if we looked at it as, harder, smarter, and then harder again, right? It's like move fast, learn, and then move fast again with what we've learned, okay? So I think that's an important kind of lesson when we think about leadership is, oftentimes those leaders are the people that have the most urgency. My brother, for instance, my brother has more urgency than about 15 people combined. He moves fast, and that is his guiding principle. He wants to move fast. Now, will he break things sometimes? Absolutely. But he can also get results because of how fast he's moving and how fast he's thinking and what he's doing. And that's something that I really respect about him is it's like he has a fire that just never stops. It's just always going. And you have to be careful with that, right? You don't want to, turn people off. But to me, that goes back to that harder, smarter, harder, right? It's move fast, learn, figure out where we went wrong, and then let's move fast again. And I think urgency is one of those things where I have seen that some of the best leaders that I have seen move with urgency. Like every piece of their life is urgent. And I think about it, when I was making out kind of goals for 24 and what that was going to look like, what I think about is what could I get done today versus what am I putting off? And we've all done this, right? There's those conversations that need to be had. And it's like, I don't really want to have this. Maybe next Wednesday sounds like a good day. And so when we think about this, what can be done today that you don't need to put off? That if you did today would make a bigger impact than if you put it off. And what I will tell you is that a lot of people, I don't have time to do that. I'm running out of time. No. You have plenty of time. It's just a matter of prioritizing what you spend your time on. That's the key. And we're all guilty of this, right? It's like, well, I could, do this and don't have to worry about that. And it'd make the day go easier. Or I've got an hour and I could probably knock out 3 things that I was putting off for tomorrow. And then all of a sudden I've got an opening for tomorrow that I can move 3 things up and I can move 3 things up and I can move 3 things up. And all of a sudden, what happens? Well, by the end of the year, you've gotten a hell of a lot more done because you didn't put it off. And again, that is one of those things that it takes practice because it's not comfortable. It's very uncomfortable to move with that level of urgency. But what I will tell you is if you want to keep growing, urgency is your friend. What I will tell you is that the people that get noticed, the people that are making things happen, are those with urgency. They may not have all the skills. They may need a lot of training. They may need help here, help there, whatever it may be. But they move with urgency. And it's contagious. So if you want to talk about spreading your influence, if you are that person that acts with urgency in everything that you do, people will catch on. You be the example. Move the needle. It doesn't matter what position you're in. If you're moving with urgency and wondering how you can help other people and doing this and doing that, going here, going there, you will be noticed. And at the end of the day, if you want to get noticed, if you want to expand your influence, it's a lot of effort, just effort-based. And effort doesn't mean that you've got to be the knower of all things. You've just got to move fast. And you got to want to figure things out. And when you do that, your influence has no choice but to grow. And when you gain that influence, guess what? People are going to start looking at you, whether you think you're a leader or not. They're going to be looking at you. They're going to be looking at you for guidance. Leadership is effort. It's action. A lot of people's urgency is stopped by perfection. Guess what I know about this business? This is my 13th, it'll be 13 years in August. Been doing this for 13 years, never seen anything perfect. Not planning on seeing anything perfect moving forward. There's always going to be rough patches. There's always going to be bumps in the road. There's always going to be these things. It doesn't need to be perfect. So again, think about urgency. When you think about your week, how can I be more urgent? What can I pull up? What else can I get done? And again, also think about those tasks. What is actually going to move the needle? Leadership is action. The second one that I think can drastically multiply your influence is having an owner's mindset. And it's something that I continually work on every single day. Now, an owner's mindset is ownership over what you control. Now, what I know or what I have learned over the years is it's very, very easy to shift blame. It's actually probably the thing we do as humans most frequently, right? It's never our fault. Like nothing that's ever went bad was ever our fault. Something goes wrong. Well, there was this and this and this and this. And I'm not saying that there's never any outside influence. Ownership and blame are two totally different things. So are you going to take ownership for the result, or are you going to look to blame somebody else? There's a lot of things on the outside that we could blame for where we are and, kind of pivoting our direction of how we what we look at as key factors of running the business. We could blame a lot of stuff. Interest rates, election year, economy, credit scores. Are those all factors? Yeah. But what happens when we look to those as the excuses as to why we can't do a little bit better? Well, you in fact never get any better. We just continually look for these outside things that are happening as an explanation as to why we can't get any better. That is why I am so excited, and I've said, I think on every one of these that I've done, every meeting that I've been in, this will be our best year. Why? Because we are intentionally focused on what it is that we can control. We won't have any choice but to grow. You got to own everything. Own every day where you didn't hit your goal. Just own it. No one's judging you. If you want to learn, if you want to get better, you've got to take ownership. Maybe you're not the best right now. And guess what? That's okay. Be at your best. Take that ownership mindset into your position today. You don't need to be any better than anybody else. You just need to be at your best. And guess what? Your influence will spread. The more ownership that you take for your own results, it's contagious. If you want the people on your team to take ownership of their results, start taking it for yours. What do you need to do a little bit differently? The most powerful thing you can do as a leader is have conversations with your people. Because then, guess what? They start to understand that you give a shit. Pump up your teammates around you. See who needs help. Because at the end of the day, if you ever want people to follow you, the best time to build influence is right now. So the next thing that goes right along with that ownership mindset, is just a positive outlook. Do people want to be around you? Do they want to be influenced by you? People with a lot of negativity and people who are just pains in the asses, guess what? They don't have a lot of people following them. I'm a huge Nick Saban fan. The cool part about Nick Saban, so I've studied him for a long time and trying to figure out, when you look at him on the field, the man is intense. Whoa. But I think the coolest thing about it, and I encourage you to go look up, they've got video snippets here, there, and everywhere. If you really dive in to who he is and why he is so successful, in my mind, he is so intense because he cares so much about those players on his team and wants nothing more than them to be their very, very best. He cares more than anybody else, and that is what has made him successful. So where can your outlook be infectious? It's all effort-based. Do you want to put in the effort? Because it's a hell of a lot easier to be down in the dumps, not say anything. But what I will tell you is the people with those positive outlooks, those are the people that rise. Those are the people that you're looking for. Because at the end of the day, that positive outlook is what drives them forward. It's what makes people attracted to them. They want to be around you. So what does that look like? Now, you don't have to cook breakfast every morning and do all of those things. That's nice every once in a while. But just care about them more than they've ever been cared about before. What kind of outlook do you take into every day that you go into? You got really two choices. You can be positive about it, or you can be negative. A lot of your positivity is going to be garnered from owning everything that you do. The reason we get negative is because we blame the outside world, because we think it's out of our control. Your happiness and your ability to inspire happiness in others is in direct relation to how much you think you can control. And guess what? You've got a pretty good chance of controlling most of the things in your life. Life's always going to throw you curveballs. There's things that happen, but it's all the positivity that if you can garner it up in all of those other aspects that truly weren't really all that negative, it's the buildup of all of this negativity and this I can't control anything and the world just keeps dishing me blows and all of this. Is it really? Is it really? Or is it more so your willingness to face those things and take ownership of it? The last one before we wrap up is really just a willingness to grow and change. We talk about comfort zone a lot, right? I'm in my comfort zone. I don't want to change. Feel pretty good here. I myself have done that. Hey, I'm really comfortable doing it this way. Okay, well, is that the best way to do it? Or is there a better way to do it? My guess is there's always a better way to do it. And that doesn't mean your way is wrong. Doesn't mean your way is in any way, shape, or form incorrect. But is there something that you could learn from somebody else? Something you could try that may make the process a little bit easier? I would guarantee you that there probably always is. So, what is your level of willingness to accept change? Meeting with the guys more often. Well, that may be uncomfortable. I got to mess up my schedule, really like kind of my routine here. And I'm as a routine person as you possibly could get. Like, routine is my friend. And there's a place for a routine. But within that routine, where are you growing? Where are you getting a little bit uncomfortable? Is it reading a book? Is it waking up a little bit earlier? Whatever it may be. All of these things are going to be things that are going to help you grow. Have you seen the people at Chick-fil-A work? That is the most well-oiled machine I've ever seen. I don't like to sit in the line, but it is fun to watch them work a drive-thru because they've adopted the process. Their ability to move you through a drive-thru, I'm not talking like astronomical stuff here, like have a process, here's how we're going to do it, all of this stuff. Do you ever notice that none of the other fast food chains have ever adopted all of these things that seem to work really well for Chick-fil-A? Not a one of them. Why is that? If I owned a fast food chain, I would just model what they do. It seems to work, right? Because change is uncomfortable. So when we think about change, yes, is it hard the first couple of times? 100%, because it's new. But guess what? It gets a hell of a lot easier. Think about all the things that you do differently today that you may have not done 3 years ago. People are a lot more open to change than they think they are. And the ones that are a little bit more difficult are the ones that are going to allow you to grow the most. So embrace that. People are so eager to improve their lives. Where your life goes, where your career goes, where your family goes, where everything goes in your life is within your control. If you want to move forward, if you want to do bigger things, just own it. You can. All day, every day, watch out, here I come. There's nothing that can hold me back because it truly can't. There's nothing that can hold you back. You can do anything you want. We can do anything that we want. Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to get connected, you can find me at chadmpeterman.com. To see what our team's up to, you can visit petermanbros.com. As always, keep growing out there.